to the Geeking Poetic podcast channel.
On this channel, we have shows and segments that contain adult humor,
bad language, dirty jokes,
and other stuff that is strictly for mature audiences only.
So if you're too young or too sensitive for this kind of material, then please do not watch our channel or our videos.
This channel is not for you.
Thanks much.
And now, on with the show! About to fall over.
And welcome everybody to a new episode of Geeking Poetic Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Larry Roberts. This little checkerboard over to my right here, that's harsh on the S's today, apparently.
I really am. I'm so sorry, guys.
She is so sorry.
So sorry.
So sorry. It is none other than...
Megan Guess.
Oh boy, here we go. Gladly she's not going to be saying her name a bunch during this episode. And who's this over here, man? It's
this handsome stud we got.
Yeah,
oh, you guys are sweet. Thank you.
With the hair going mighty high there.
Yes,
mine goes down and his goes up. Yeah, it is. Not man. What are you? You're a man of
everything.
Yeah, a jack of
many talents.
Right, of all trades. He's Mr. Pierogi. He is the lead vocalist and guitarist in Underground Prophets. He has his own business. You've done, man, you're all over the fucking place.
You know what? Life has been very good to me, and I can't complain. And now I get to hang out with you guys and talk about geeky stuff all day. This is gonna be awesome.
Well, this is ranking a little low on his list.
No, this is awesome.
But it is. Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Matt Valuckis. I hang out with Larry Roberts and Megan quite a bit off camera. I do play Mr. Pierogi. I'm in Underground Prophets. I play some acoustic stuff on the side with Mr. Larry Roberts as the moniker of Matt and Larry. It's a very original name.
How about that fucking name, huh?
That's pretty good.
And then Matt, he's Matt and you're Larry.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Yes,
no,
yes.
you got that completely wrong.
Wouldn't that be great, though, if we flipped it just to mess with people?
Yeah, you should.
Like the stage names?
I think we should do that.
That'd be awesome. But I own an advertising agency out of Hobart called V as in Victor, which was from my last name. So it's Valuckis, V as in Victor, A-L.
Yeah, you're very big on the monogram thing.
Yeah. You gotta own the V.
Fucking V's
You gotta own the V.
Yeah.
You gotta own that V.
Fucking victory at V. Yeah. But anyway.
Yeah.
So, man, it's good to have you on here because obviously, I mean, Meg and I have been doing this for 3.5 years or more now. And we're always talking about stuff, but we're usually doing it on the mic and everything. But Matt and I talk about this kind of stuff all the damn time. We're always talking about everything from Marvel to Star Wars to Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, various things that we theorize about and throw different things back and forth. And been saying for a while, like, man, we should just get you on the show. So,
and I was like, yes, please, let's do it.
So finally, I had some I had some blackmail material that I was able to use against him.
Right, and I had an extra $40, so I could give each of them 20 to let me be on the show.
Yeah, so it all kind of worked out.
It's totally win-win-win. Yeah,
exactly.
It's $20 is $20.
But yeah, as you may notice, if you haven't seen the last couple of things that we put out on the channel, Vito, he's still around. He's still technically a part of it, but that boy's got a lot going on in his life, man.
He's a busy man.
Oh, he is so busy, and he's working again, and he's hating life, to going back to work and stuff. He's gonna, if he watches this, he's gonna be sitting there just nodding his head like fucking right. But so we still love you, Vito, but in the meantime, we're going to start, and we talked about this for so long, getting more guests on and everything, and people like Matt on there. So we took this opportunity,
running with it.
Exactly.
Making it happen.
Exactly. Meg picked him up, just over her head.
I literally carried Matt in here.
It was like fireman style. It was awesome. Yeah, it was like over the threshold. It's like we just got married. It was beautiful.
And she just ran with it.
Yes, it so was. How's your back doing?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
So I'm going to have to get up anytime soon.
Right. So what we also thought would be kind of cool about this is because obviously, I mean, we still have plenty of things we could talk about with Vito and everything too, but we always kind of skewed it towards certain things, that we knew that trio had in common. But we thought, well, with Matt, we've got some other things that we've got in common and everything, which one of those is, we love comedies. We're always, in for a good laugh. Mm-hmm. Usually at other people's expense.
Usually, yeah.
Or at each other's.
Yeah, more than likely.
So we thought we'd do something kind of cool, and when we were brainstorming about this several weeks back, we came up with doing a top 5 comedy ensemble films. Right now, are we agreed that we're just doing films for this?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Because I thought we were going to maybe do, because there's some great comedy ensemble TV shows. Mm-hmm. There's tons of them.
That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah, it really is, because when I was trying to narrow those down, I was like, boy, I'd have a tough time just picking 5 just TVs. So sticking with the films and everything. Let's let the audience know at home. We kind of set some
guidelines.
Yeah, some guidelines. So Matt, for you, for example, how did you kind of set your guidelines for yourself with this?
I looked at this as there wasn't one specific leading person in the movie itself. It was a group of people. Perhaps the storylines kind of diverged, and it didn't follow one individual. It was maybe a bunch of those that all kind of came together. Maybe it was a trio of people that we followed, but it wasn't like one starring vehicle for somebody.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm hoping you guys did the same, otherwise this could be really awkward.
Yeah, no, more or less. I mean, to a certain degree, I think, even when we talked about it, I think we agreed that there could be a little bit of fluctuation just as long as we're all in the same ballpark and stuff. Because in some cases, like, I had to set certain parameters just for myself even, because if I didn't, I would never be able to narrow these down. What about you, Meg? Did you have some?
I was very similar to you, except for 3 people. I made it at least 4 or more people.
Okay.
I did the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because when I was just looking at trio films and stuff, I was like, oh, gosh, man, there's so many. I could just do trio on, films and stuff. So I said, I think the only way I could make this work for me would be to have to make it like even larger. And I think in most cases I went even larger than quartet. Oh, did you? Okay, because I know
on my list, looking at it now, I think 4 is the smallest number that I had. But there were some movies that I considered that were like 3 people. But it just it was right on that border where it didn't quite feel right. Weirdly enough.
Exactly. Oh yeah, there was a few that even when I started out trying to make my list, there was some that I initially thought for sure was going to make my list. And then the more I really thought about it, I said, no, I don't think these qualify. And it's kind of interesting because, it really changed a lot of things around on my list and everything.
I have one that kind of break my rules,
okay,
but not really. I'll explain it when we get to it.
I kind of have one of those too. It's like right on the cusp of, does it fit within the rules? And again, when we get there, I'll see if you guys notice which of the 5 that one is.
Right.
I'm curious too. But I'm also curious, like, as we're going, if there's one that, like, you may say to me, that doesn't really fit as an ensemble comedy, and here's why. I would be very curious to see if that's the case for you, how you interpreted how an ensemble comedy works.
Well, that's kind of what I thought would be fun about doing it this way, is because, we, like I said, I think we gave each other a pretty general guideline of, what would count and what wouldn't, but there's a lot of room for interpretation here, so it'll be fun debate. And if some of your shit is just wrong, Matt, I'm gonna fucking call you out on it.
That's fair. Well, before we start, I brought some conversational scotch, so I'm gonna top off my glass before we jump into the top 5. And
what kind of scotch is that?
Brought to you by Flaviar. This is actually it is an advent calendar of scotches. So they give you 25 different ones to sample. And I kind of went out of order, so this is number 17. And the funny thing is, I totally don't even know what it is. I have to save these for when I get home to look them up.
Right.
But I figured this was a little less alcoholic than bringing an entire bottle with me. So, yeah.
Instead, he just has his pockets stuffed
got my
full of a bunch of small bottles.
They're jingling around.
Jingle, jingle, jingle. You hear his scotch bottles ring. Yeah. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Is the format. Are you knocking things over there?
Knocking stuff over.
Oh boy, you've been knocking stuff over ever since you got here. Yeah, yeah. Here's what I want to do. I would like to go around because I think this will make it a little bit quicker. I would like to go around and we're just going to list each one starting at number 5. We don't have to expound upon it as we list it. We'll go number 5, number 4, number 3, number 2, number 1. So for you people that don't care what we have to say about it, and you just want to hear what our top 5 is, well, you can watch the first,
Wait no longer.
Yeah, exactly.
Cash it out and get out.
Exactly. But then we will go back, because there's a chance that we're going to have overlapping
I'm sure.
choices.
Yeah.
So there's no sense in talking about it twice. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
We'll just go around and address each movie. So I like to start with the guest.
Well, thank you.
And I would like to know, what is your number 5 favorite comedy ensemble film?
Weirdly enough, out of my 5, like once I had my picks of like my pool of where I wanted to go, my top 4 fell in really easily, which I was surprised by.
Okay.
Number 5, it was in between a couple of different ones. But for number 5, I settled on the Hot Tub Time Machine.
Oh, that's a good one.
So weirdly enough, it was between that, Airplane, or and I shouldn't say, I'm going to give these away, so we'll talk after. But it was just interesting, like how
honorable mentions.
there were some honorable mentions. So we'll come back to that.
No, it's okay. Yeah, wait.
I got a little overzealous.
No, it's okay because
I'm
I'm
so excited.
I know, I totally am.
No, it's good that you said that because it sets me up a little bit.
Okay.
So, but not my turn yet. It is Megan's turn.
My turn. Our guest and then guest.
Yeah, guest and guest. And
Making
then
you say all the S's.
it's guest, guess, S.
Yes.
The S.
The S.
Leave the S to the end. The S end.
The SN.
All right, just give me your damn number 5.
I went with 2010's Grown Ups.
Oh,
Grown Ups. Okay.
wow.
Yeah. It's an
Didn't see that
interesting-
one coming, did you?
No, I didn't actually. No.
Ah.
Well, and that's what I think is going to be kind of fun about this. Like, as I was thinking about ensemble comedies, there are certain ones I'm sure that you're going to be like, oh, I'm like, damn, why didn't I think about that?
Right.
Like, I'm excited about this.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, you know, not to interject, but you guys did the Tarantino one, so I kind of knew, you know, like watching that last
Right.
podcast, where you know some of those movies were going to rank. Like, you had like a finite list of ones to go from. So as you guys were listing, I'm like, oh, I wonder where that's going to be. And here,
Right. No, this one,
it's
man.
so wide open that like I have no clue.
Exactly.
So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh
the top
no, it's
five. I
okay.
hijacked it.
It's all right. No, it's all right. But speaking of what you were saying a couple minutes ago, number 5, I kind of had the same situation as you. My first 3, I felt my top 3 fell in pretty easily. 4 was a little harder, and then 5, it was just like, I don't know. Gosh, there's so many. Hot Tub Time Machine was one of those options. It did not make the list. It was.
Got the boot.
It was, it got the boot. Yeah, if it was in Canada, he really got the
The
boot.
boot.
Yeah, that's what it's about. But anyway, so it did not make my number 5. That would be an honorable mention type thing, and we could do some honorable mentions later if we feel like it. But ironically, what just flew right in there in its place was 1980's Airplane.
That's so funny. Wow.
Yeah, so
You guys
See?
didn't have to wait so fucking much, okay?
And that's okay. Like I don't feel bad knocking it off the list because you put it on there, so it still made it. I'm cool with that.
Yeah. All right, so we got Hot Tub Time Machine, Grown Ups, and Airplane. That's our number 5s. All right, we're already on to number 4.
Number 4 for me was Cannonball Run.
Dude, nice. Yeah. See,
What?
We'll get there.
yeah, we'll get. I know. I'm down because Cannonball Run is fucking awesome.
Right?
That totally belongs in there in my book.
Yeah.
But obviously, that's not going to be Megan's
Obviously
number 4.
not.
So, what's your number 4?
My number 4, I went with 1984's Ghostbusters.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, and see, that's one of those ones that when we talk about it, that I'm going to debate a little bit, but we'll see.
Debate all you want.
I'm just saying.
All right.
All right. Well, and this one, I mean, I gotta explain a little bit. So this one's a little bit of a cheat, kind of, because this is a movie that was a remake, and the original is almost as amazing in my book as the remake is. I'm technically choosing the remake, but I will talk a little bit about the original too. And what I'm talking about is a movie that originally came out in 1960, and then it came out again in 2001, and it is Ocean's 11. So yeah, if you're familiar with that, I mean they're technically very different movies.
They
actually,
are very
but,
much so.
but it's still counted as a remake. But yeah, I skew more towards the 2001 version of it and stuff. So, all right, so we got Cannibal Run, We got Ghostbusters and Ocean's 11.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on to number 3.
All right, my number 3 was 2001's Super Troopers.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, see, this is a real interesting
Right?
list
It's
we
getting
got.
cool later.
Wow, okay. All right, Super Troopers. All right, Megan, you're number 3.
I went with 1985's Clue.
Very nice.
I love that movie.
Yeah, I know you do. Clue, yeah, that's definitely an ensemble. I went with a movie from 1978, a little John Landis film known as Animal House.
Excellent choice.
Yeah, I love me some Animal House.
Excellent
so
choice.
Looking forward to talking about that. All right, so Matthew, you had gone with Super Troopers.
Yes.
And you went with Clue. And then I have the old Animal House. All right, moving on to number 2. Matthew?
My number 2 was actually your number 4.
Ah,
Ocean's 11.
very nice.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes, the 2001 version.
Okay, okay.
Absolutely.
Crossover.
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
so we finally got some crossover here. Megan, your number 2.
I went with 2007 Wild Hogs.
Wild Hogs. Okay.
Nice. Again, one of those ones I forgot about. I'm like, I love that one.
Yeah, she's good on the more. Yeah. Usually, I think I'm like the one that might be pulling out like the obscure things. I'm like, my choice is 1937 Stage Door, and stuff, and they're looking at me like, what the fuck, Grandpa? What are you talking about? It's cool that you're throwing out some real left
Curveballs
turns. Yeah,
for
some
ya?
curveballs,
Yeah, I'm going with
exactly.
curveballs.
Left field things here. All right, well, we have another crossover pick here because, without a doubt, my number 2 is a film from 1985 known as Clue.
Yes.
Fucking love that movie. It's so dumb.
The dumber the better.
Yeah. Well, we're big fans of the game too, so
That's my favorite
yeah.
board game.
So that gave it extra points and
Yeah.
everything. But all right, so yeah, you said Ocean's 11.
Ocean's 11.
And then you said Wild Hogs.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the hell that is. And then,
I love that movie.
I'm teasing. I know what it is, and then I picked Clue. So see, there you go, folks. We're already at our number 1, the Big Red One. That's not one of the movies. That's
No.
not a comedy.
No.
Not at all.
No.
It's a good movie though. Matthew.
My number 1 is your number 2 and your number 3. 1985's Clue. Yes.
Really?
My
I
number
Trifecta.
1.
did
yes.
not expect
Wow.
that.
Uh-huh.
That's awesome. Okay, good. Well, we'll save that one for last to talk about then,
Yeah.
man, because
I didn't see that coming at all.
that's real high up for us. Yeah. Okay.
Got a movie night coming, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. All right, Clue and Megan.
Alright, so this one's my little bit of a cheat.
Uh-oh.
So it's 2006 Night at the Museum.
Yeah, that's a little debatable, but
Yeah.
I know it is. But I'll explain more
okay.
once we get into it.
All right.
Okay. All right. All right.
Interesting.
Night at the Museum. That'll be that is interesting. All right, and then here's where Grandpa steps in.
Oh boy.
Because for my number 1 choice, I had to go with a movie going all the way back to 1963. In my opinion, the movie that started them all. It is a movie called It's a Mad, 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 Mad World.
Which was not done by Kubrick.
No, I don't think so.
Cool.
All right, cool.
Cool.
So yeah, well,
So, and I, other than the title, I mean, I clearly know nothing about it. So,
that'll be interesting to talk
Yeah,
about.
I think
then.
so.
All right, cool. Well, then yeah, let's just dig in and we'll start talking about all these different movies.
cool.
So, here we go. Let's just jump into some of these movies. Your number 5, Matthew. What
Yes.
was your number 5 again? Was Hot Tub Time Machine. Yeah, let's talk about that one.
All right, so 2010. The plot is basically there is a malfunctioning time machine that sends these 4 guys back to 1986. They are staying at this ski resort that was the mecca of awesomeness in 1986.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, in 2010 has just been completely run down. They were trying to regain their youth again. So they go and they hang out, and there's nobody there. They use the time machine. Something electrocutes, and they wake up in 1980. Was it 1986?
Yeah.
But
So basically, like that is like my lifelong dream.
right.
Is please just send me back to
Right.
1986.
So as far as like the ensemble goes, we have John Cusack in it.
Yeah.
We have Craig Robin Robinson, Rob Corddry, Clark Duke. You may know him from The Office in the later seasons. Sebastian Stan, good old Winter Soldier, was in it. Chevy Chase, Crispin Glover, Lizzie Kaplan, and the always awesome William Zabka. So
if it's got Billy Zabka in it,
it's good.
It's a fucking winner.
So it's just one of those things. I love anything time travel related. Something about that, like I think it was the Back to the Future in me. Like that was like my favorite movie when I was a kid. So anything that has to do with time travel, I think is awesome. And one of the things I like about time travel is the movies seem to either take one of two approaches. One is that butterfly effect, that if you go back, you're going to change something, you're going to do something, so don't touch anything, don't fuck with it, because if you do, the future that what you have, the future is completely changed when you get back. Or it's much like Infinity War and Endgame, that you're splitting off into an alternate timeline without touching it. And this is one of those, if you go back, the butterfly flaps his wings and you change something. So ideally, you're not trying to change anything about it, but they are themselves as they were 25 years prior, and it's just the hijinks that ensue are just hilarious. I love anything that's got John Cusack in it, which is cool.
I'm a big John Cusack fan as well. People seem to kind of go either way on him, and I've just been a fan for many years.
To me he's fantastic. And I'm also a big fan, like any comedy to me that's quotable, that has like moments that like I can either like I will guffaw out loud, I think are awesome, or it's just got some of those quotable moments. So have you guys seen Hot Tub Time Machine?
Oh,
you have.
It's been a long
I haven't seen it in a while. I saw it probably like 3 times, I guess. It's not one that I own or have saved, on in an app or anything like that. So I haven't. It's one. If you wanted to put it on, I'd be like, fuck yeah, let's watch it. But it's just one of those ones that I haven't revisited in a while and everything. But I mean, I think that's a perfect choice. Like I said, I was considering that as well, but when I realized that I hadn't seen it in so long, I was like, no, okay, I'm going to pick something else then, because I'd be cheating a little bit since it's been so long and everything. But it's a perfect ensemble film.
It is, and to me, it's got all the things that I love. Like we were talking, off camera a while ago about the fact that I love movies where they break the fourth wall. And at one point, Craig Robinson, like they're in the hot tub, and he looks right at the camera, and he's like, it must be some sort of a hot tub time machine. So not only does he break the fourth wall to look at the camera, but they say the name of the movie in the movie, and anytime you say the title of the movie, I'm like, he said it! We're watching that now, it's great! But there's a scene in the very beginning when they're driving to the ski resort, and John Cusack is lamenting on this girlfriend that he had, and that's where the relationship just went south, and that's why they end up at this particular weekend, for him to still be with this girl, that once they broke up, the scope of his life completely changes. And when they are driving up, they're talking about her being the great white buffalo. And everybody in the car just says that, great white buffalo, great white buffalo. And they just all reply, great white buffalo. Except for the young kid who's like, what are you guys talking about? Why are you saying great white buffalo? It's like he's not in on the joke. But it's become like that quotable thing for me, that anytime something really cool happens, like, or something that was meant to be, I'll turn to my wife and I'm like, great white buffalo. And she's like,
I could see that.
It's awesome. So it's just got to me, it's got that quotable moment that you're like, yeah, that sticks. So, but their chemistry together, I think, is just fantastic in the entire movie. Like, it works out so very well. It's got, to me, it's awesome because Sebastian Stan, Winter Soldier, he plays that like frat rich kid, from the 80s,
which is perfect.
It suits him really, really well. But he believes that the four of them, because they've come back in time and they're acting differently, that they're Russian spies. And to me, like in that 80s trope, like it was all about the Cold War and all of that stuff, and like Red Dawn. So to me, that going back in time with them as this foursome just strikes that perfect 80s resonance of paying it homage without making fun of it too much. So to me, I think maybe it's more about the comedy itself than it is about the cast that's in it, but it's their interactions with it, because each of them were there in 1986. So when they go back, they all have their own storylines that they're trying to either course correct or make better or something like that, where it's not just John Cusack's film, it's all four of them.
I was just going to say, and that's why I said this is, I think, a perfect choice for that, because even though you've got certain characters or certain stars that you could go, well, that, John Cusack's the big guy. There's always like a big guy there, but I don't feel that he's necessarily so much more focused on or so much more important than the rest of them in there. I think it really works because of that cast of characters and how they all balance out, how it all comes together.
That's a perfect choice, man. Yeah, that, like I said, if other circumstances being what they were, that might have been on my list, but yeah, it got bumped. So
like when we're going for the honorable mention, so the other one was your number 5, and then the other one that almost made the cut was Galaxy Quest. So it was between those 3.
I haven't seen that in a long time.
So, but like I said, overall, if what I kind of judge this on, like if I'm flipping through the channels and one of them is on,
right,
which is the one that I'm most likely going to sit and watch again.
That's kind of what I did.
And for me, it was Hot Tub Time Machine. Like, I love Airplane, and I'll watch that anytime. I can pretty much quote that from beginning to end. But because I can quote it from beginning to end, like, I enjoy it, but like not as much. And we'll talk about it when we get to yours.
Yeah,
so I don't want to.
Why don't you guys flip flop it? Why don't you talk about Airplane now?
Well, yeah, I may as well do that since we both kind of had the same fight for 5 there. For the 5th position. Yeah, Airplane. I mean, the thing for me was, this was much like what my number 1 pick was, ironically. This was probably one of the very first films of this type that I had ever seen. And it was so disorienting. Well, first of all, because I was a kid. I was much too young. And I'm going to tell a real quick story that's funny about it, too. I'll keep it brief. But I went and saw this movie as a double feature with my parents when it came out in 1980 at the Lands Theater in Lansing, Illinois.
Nice.
Okay? And it was a double feature with the movie that I wanted to see that night, which was Popeye. You know me and my Popeye. I fucking love Robin Williams' Popeye. That movie's amazing. Anyway, so for whatever odd reason, they chose to air Airplane first and Popeye after. And and my parents were kind of worried because I was notorious for being the kid that would fall asleep at the movie theater all the time. I actually made it through the whole thing this time.
You should have been worried that you go and repeat what you heard in the movie in school.
Well, that was a big part of it because what I did end up having, I didn't get all these gags in Airplane, man. I didn't know what speaking jive was about. I didn't get so many of the gags in that movie. I just thought that Robert Hayes doing the Staying Alive dance and stuff, I thought like that was so funny, and everything. And I was going up. My dad wanted to see it because it was totally his kind of humor. He loved it. But so I'm sitting there in this theater, and then there's the one scene when everything just goes completely haywire on the plane when they all realize, and then all of a sudden, a big, as big as could be, pair of naked boobs just flashes. They were mine as well. They were mine as well. And that's one thing, but they were also the first boobs I ever saw in giant movie screen size. And I was just like, whoa. And my mom was like, oh shit. It was like, and by the time she tried to like cover my eyes or whatever,
damage was done.
And so it was just like, well, that one got past us and everything. And I was just like, I don't even know what to think right now, about this. I just wanted to see Popeye. So that's why it made my list. It was because it was the first pair of tits I saw. This was one of those movies that, again, I consider this a good choice because even though I know some people again might say Robert Hayes' character and stuff was like, well, he's the main character, and I'm like, yeah, they kind of pivoted around him, in a way, but it's one of those ones where I feel like that whole cast is so crucial to the flow of this film and what makes it work so well. I don't feel like he is like the main star. You don't really get that vibe. You don't really get the vibe that anybody in this movie is like a main star. It's like they're all feeding off each other. I love the fact that they're all trapped on this fucking plane. They're either in a plane or at the tower. And just what a goddamn another quotable, funny quotable movie.
Yeah.
I mean, is there almost think about this for a second. Is there a week that goes by when you're on Facebook, Instagram, you're at work, that you don't hear somebody or read somebody fucking throw out an Airplane quote in there? Anytime somebody says about Shirley this, and it's inevitably somebody's going to say, don't call me Shirley. Like, there's so many things that are quoted from that movie. And,
In my family, anytime you spill something, you've got a drinking problem.
Yeah,
I've got a drinking problem.
exactly.
I picked the wrong day to stuff dumping glue. Yeah.
Roger, all that stuff.
What's your vector, Victor?
Yeah, what's your vector, Victor? Yeah, exactly. We do that stuff all the time, and it just ingrained itself into me at such a young age. That kind of humor, and it sort of introduced me to that sort of kind of madcap humor like that.
Well, and that's what I loved. Like, to me, that was the same world as Spaceballs. It was the same world as Naked Gun. You know, it was that so absurd aspect that, Top Secret with Val Kilmer, one of my ultimate favorite movies. It's that same kind of just over the top. The Zaz brothers, the Zucker brothers, were just fantastic with that. For me, the reason that didn't make my list was I always felt it was tough sometimes to discern the main cast from the cameos.
Sure, I could see that to a degree.
So, like, I didn't quite feel as comfortable putting it in a full ensemble, even though, it truly is. I mean, it's the pilot,
it almost feels like almost everybody in that movie is, it blurs the line, you know what I mean, between cameo, because some things, it's like, do you really, I don't know. That's what I said. That's why, and that's kind of why it ranked a little further down for me, is because some of it is cameo-ish, but they do show up more frequently than just like one time.
Right.
And they end up being so popular, such a popular part of the movie. Just like I can't think of the actor's name, but what's his nuts that's doing all the goofy stuff in the tower that keeps,
I can make a brooch?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Leon's getting larger.
I mean, right, yeah, exactly. You could sit there and say, well, that's but he just pops in real quick and it's kind of a cameo, but like, dude, that's one of the best parts of the movie, and he doesn't just show up once. So I hear you. Yeah, it kind of walks a line. Yeah. It does kind of walk a little bit of a line.
To me, and this is me, I'm probably like overanalyzing this a little bit too much, but for some of those cameo characters, if you pull them out of the film, does the story still make sense? Right. For like a true ensemble comedy, do we need every member of that ensemble in order for it to work? And again, it's splitting hairs at that point, because you've got certain characters that they've got a lot of screen time and it's hilarious.
Right.
But does that truly count as an ensemble film?
Yeah. That's what I said. I agree with that point. I feel like this one walks a line well enough.
I'm just arguing with you to argue with this.
No. I mean, it's a valid.
Fun, right?
It's a valid point, though. I mean, it is totally valid. So. Anyway, yeah, I think it's a great movie, and it kind of had to make my list because as awesome as Time Machine is, to me, like I said, this, because it was such an influential film and what it spawned and everything, and how it's still 41 years later so quotable and so remembered, and it became such a thing.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, it feels like it belongs in a top 5.
But it's also interesting to me that, much like Blazing Saddles, the humor of the day was so very different. Ooh. So very different. A movie like, Airplane would never be made today for what it is. So, I mean, when you look at it as this time capsule of that period, I enjoy it for that, too.
Yeah, that
little history lesson of it.
Because I think it was harmless. I mean, even though there's, outdated kind of humor. Mm-hmm. And people say, well, it's inappropriate now. Okay, but I also feel that most of it, with a few exceptions, is still pretty harmless for the most part. Stuff in Blazing Saddles is debatable.
I can fill an entire episode.
Oh my gosh, and you know what? And as you know, because you heard my top 5, all our top 5s, is that for me there were no Mel Brooks films, and I'm a big fan of Mel Brooks, and I really debated long and hard, no pun intended, about Blazing Saddles, putting that in there, but then I really thought about it and I said, it's not an ensemble. It's got an amazing cast, but it really isn't like an ensemble. There's so many of those people you could kind of replace, and as long as you've got Cleavon Little and Gene Wilder there, everybody else can kind of, not that they're not important to the movie, but I mean, they would be a little bit more easily interchangeable, I think, in some ways. But anyway, so
Grown-Ups.
Yeah, let's talk about Grown-Ups.
Grown-Ups, all right. So, I don't know. This movie just cracks me up. I've not seen the other ones.
I've only seen Grown-Ups 2. I haven't seen the first one.
Really?
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So for those, are we assuming that everybody who's watching has seen these movies, or do we need to do recaps?
You could do just a brief recap, I'd say.
It's like what you did earlier.
Cool.
So, like in this one, it has 5. It's
5.
got Adam Sandler, Kevin James, David Spade, Chris Rock, and Rob Schneider.
Right.
As all these friends, and they grew up together. They played on this big basketball team in this slow little town. But they won the championship, so they're like town favorites or whatever. But they grow up, and their coach passes away. So they go to reconnect to go to the funeral, and they're like way different lifestyles now. So, but they go to the lake cabin where they celebrated their big win, and they kind of learn how to be kids again, and then how to get their kids to get out of city life and out of a phone and go out and actually enjoy being a kid. So, I don't know. I love how they ribbed each other, constantly tearing each other apart.
Well, it seems like, yeah, I know that, you know, that entire group does so many movies together. I enjoy their chemistry.
Right.
I think it's really cool, you know, Adam Sandler and then that group. And not to take away from that, but like I know the group mainly from like Hotel Transylvania, from the cartoon.
Right.
My son watches that all the time. But it's that same, like, you can tell whenever they're either on screen or you're working together, they genuinely enjoy. It's like they're friends first, and they're hanging out, and making a movie is secondary to that. And that's what I like about Grown Ups too.
I want to know. I wonder if there's a behind the scenes thing. How much of that was ad libbed, just to fuck with each other?
It has that feel to it.
It has that feel, exactly.
Yeah, and
cracks me up.
that's really cool, and that's what makes that like a pretty good choice too. Is I like the idea that it's a contrast, I think, to something like Airplane, where Airplane is very obviously comedic writers that sat down in a room and like wrote down a lot of punny jokes and goofy things like that. Whereas something like that, it's more about the chemistry of the ensemble being able
How
to just
they feed off of each other.
feed off of each other. Exactly.
Well, and that's how we feel about your other choice too, and I can't wait to talk about that with the Wild Hogs. I feel like that was kind of that same movie.
I cannot wait to talk
Yeah,
about that.
that was one of my dad's favorite movies, and we'd watch that all the time. So I'm really excited to talk about that one.
Good.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
and they're very similar.
Yes, they are.
They are very similar. And Grown Ups actually sounded a lot like your pick,
Yeah.
Hot Tub Time Machine, because they go back and then go back in time and learn how to be kids again and refix everything.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Nice.
When they're in their chairs and they're sitting there watching Rob Snyder's daughter trying to fix her car, and it's like smoke going all over her, so she's all sexy like. And you're like, okay, we can't all watch at the same time. Very obviously. So 2 of you go look at that tree, and the other 2 are like, okay, look, switch. Switch. Like, wait a minute, we're all looking at the tree, aren't we? Like, okay, look, and they look, and I don't know. That's just my kind of humor.
You know, and the thing I love about those movies is you can always tell when the comedian writes it, because Adam Sandler's wife is Selma Hayek. Like, to me, I'm like, yeah, you wrote the movie, you wrote the hot chick to be your wife. That's awesome. And I would do the exact same thing. Like, if I was writing a movie, that was a point I had to make right now. But I would do the exact same thing. I'm like, I'm going to write the hot actress as my wife.
Right.
He's got his perks, right?
Indeed. Membership.
But yeah, I think that was a good choice. I mean, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
they're definitely all even keel the whole movie.
Mhm.
It's all about the 5 of them. If
Right.
it wasn't the 5 of them, there would be no movie.
That's,
In my opinion.
yeah, no, I agree.
And
with
your
that.
opinion is just as valid.
It is.
It's the only one that counts right now, right?
That's true. That is true. Yes.
If we know what's good for us, we acknowledge the fact that Megan's opinion is the only opinion that really counts in this room right now. But all right, moving on. What was your next choice? What was your number?
It was 1981's The Cannonball Run.
Yes. Okay, let's get into that.
Okay.
Man.
So the plot of this one is that there are drivers that compete in this illegal cross-country race. It was directed by Hal Needham, who was the same guy that did Smokey the Bandit.
Right.
And he did Stroker Ace. He was pretty much like Burt Reynolds' like vehicle for movies in the
Right.
late 70s, early 80s. But what was really cool about this one, I thought, and I learned this kind of after the fact, is that Hal Needham, so he was a stuntman. That's where he kind of
Right.
got his start on things. But he did the Cannonball Run. And if you've seen the movie, Burt Reynolds and Dom DeLuise are in this ambulance, and that's how they decide that they're going to get across the country the fastest, is they flip on the lights and they can just go cross country. That when Hal Needham had actually done the race, that was his actual vehicle that he did it in.
Oh, wow.
Which was really cool. So the movie itself was based on an actual race, and I wrote it down because I wouldn't be able to remember it, but it was the Cannonball Baker Sea to Shining Sea Memorial Trophy Dash.
Oh, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, and you won a trophy at the end if you got there first. But this movie had Burt Reynolds, Dom DeLuise, it had Farrah Fawcett, Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr. were in it. This is Jackie Chan's first American movie. Roger Moore had a cameo in it. It was Burt Convey, Jamie Farr, Peter Fonda was a little cameo in there. But to me, this was... So this movie came out in 81. I was born in 76. So I first saw it when I was about 10. And it was one of those movies that was on like WGN's afternoon movies. So they cut it to shit. So like all of the original awesomeness of like the swearing and the boobs and all that stuff was completely cut out, but I didn't care because first of all, it was Burt Reynolds who was Bandit and he could do no wrong. It started my love for cars. Like, there's a Lamborghini in it. There was Ferrari in it. There was this souped up ambulance that was in it. The two girls that drove this Lamborghini, they used their sex appeal to get out of every ticket. So the cop would come up and they would just like, they had the leather jumpsuits on and they would just like put it down to here and like bust it out. And like as a kid, I'm like, oh, that is so awesome. I'm tingly downstairs and I don't know why.
Right.
But to me, it was like Airplane. A lot of that had to be completely unscripted, and you had these people, like James Bond, who was just in it playing his character doing this race. Sammy Davis Jr. and Dean Martin, who I didn't really know at the time, but like as I got older and rewatched it, the amount of cameos that were in there were like, holy crap! How did you get this many people to step in and do this short little piece for things? But it was comedy, it was sex appeal and boobs, it was cars, and it was just them being just completely goofy. And 10-year-old me just loved it, and to this day, it's just one of those that anytime it's on. And again, my dad loved Smokey and the Bandit. He loved Stroker Ace. He loved all of those Burt Reynolds movies. So when this came on, it was like he and I would sit down on that Saturday afternoon, and for the next 2 hours, we weren't doing anything but watching that movie together. And it's a combination of the humor of it with the nostalgia that comes with it. It's awesome.
I agree. However, Megan.
So I tried. I really did try to watch this movie because I read about it and it sounded perfect, right on my alley. It's a car chase. I mean, how could that go wrong? Burt Reynolds, right? But I don't know. I got so bored with it.
What?
I did not make it very far. Maybe I should have
and that's okay.
powered through it more, but I couldn't. I was like, I'm bored, and I turned it off.
Yeah, she told me that, and I was like, girl, what you talking about? That movie's not boring at all.
Geek, please.
Yeah, exactly. Geek, please. But
yeah, I'll have to give it a good proper.
Yeah, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So, like, there was Cannonball Run and then Cannonball 2, and I loved both of them. And then I remember back when I was in high school, I was trolling through the video aisle at my local, VHS store back when you would, like, that was Friday night. Like, you'd get your pizza and your VHS, and that was awesome. And I'm cruising through, and there was a new movie. It was called Speed Limit or Speed Patrol or something like that.
Okay.
And it looked like it was... sure enough, it looked like it was a sequel to what should have been Cannonball Run. So they kind of made this like unofficial third movie to make it part of the sequel, Speed Zone or Speed Trap or something.
Yeah,
Speed was on the
I kind of
title
remember
of it.
this now.
But it was like all of that same. It didn't have the original '80s characters. It was like that really bad direct release DVD kind of thing. But it was still cool enough that when it came out, I'm like, oh. This is awesome. Oh my God, I'm 10 years old again and it's the coolest thing.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, because this was one of those ones, I think, I didn't see it in the theater or anything. When it came out, I would have been 8. But I did see it on pay television. Not cable television, pay television for you kids out there that do not remember pay television. We used to, in Chicago specifically, we used to have On TV, and we had Spectrum. We had 2 different pay services. It was one channel. So it was kind of like having HBO or something like that, but they would show like recent movies and sports things you couldn't just see, on your regular local channel and all this stuff. But Cannonball Run, when that came out, like by the end of 81 or early 82, like it was on constantly. And I loved it, man. I just thought it was such a goofy, Dom DeLuise, he was crazy, Great humor there. Another, like you said, a great cast, an amazing cast, and pretty impressive for its time that they were able to get everybody on board, especially with such a goofy movie.
Right.
It always amazes me. That's the other thing about some of these choices is that I get really impressed when they have these movies for all different eras, whether it's Ocean 11, whether it's Mad Mad World, whether it's Cannonball Run, when they're able to get those big diverse casts and get them to be pretty equal and stuff on something like this. That's really impressive. And when it works, It's great. Yeah, I really think you need to give it another chance, Meg. Like, just try to power through it a little bit.
I mean, it's totally low on plot. It's the kind of movie you can literally have on in the background while you're doing something else. There's nothing that you're going to
And I
miss if
think
you
that's where it lost me.
Yeah.
I was like, where is this going?
It doesn't go anywhere. Like, it goes across the country.
I was saying they're going across the
And
country.
they took forever to get there. I was like,
Yeah.
let's go, come on. That's what I'm waiting for. Get in the cars and let's go.
Wow.
Like that opening scene when he just drives the car into the pool. Like, that had it sealed for me. I'm like,
That
okay,
was
done.
good.
Like, that's like...
that I enjoyed,
Yeah.
but
Well, I don't know. I think if you get a chance,
I'll try again.
try again. But yeah, that's a solid choice there for number 4.
Thank you.
I approve.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
For those of you that can't see, there's a space heater over here by Megan to keep her nice and toasty.
Hugging it.
Yeah. Megan's warming up for her next one. So your number 4 was
1984's Ghostbusters.
What is this Ghostbusters about?
I mean, is there anybody
Yeah, right.
if there is, I mean, I don't know if you really need to explain
Yeah,
it to
I-
the
It's
audience.
like, who are you going to call?
Yeah, exactly.
Ghostbusters.
Right. I mean, I don't think you need to like
I
recap
do.
No, I
what
don't. I really don't.
Ghostbusters is about.
It's a
'cause-
classic. It
Yeah,
talks
this
for
is a
itself.
gimme. This is a total
Yeah.
gimme.
Yeah, but why did you choose Ghostbusters?
I mean, because it's got the 4 people. It's got Bill
It's
Murray.
got 4 people in
It's
it.
got
That
4
works
people.
sometimes. It's an ensemble comedy. It's got
Right?
the 4.
Boom, we're done. Right?
Yeah.
Bill
Next
Murray,
movie.
Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, and Ernie
Winston.
Hudson.
Yeah.
Ernie Hudson.
Yeah. Yeah, who I think, Ernie Hudson is awesome. I think he's great. I didn't agree with, like, on Stranger Things when they were like, nobody wants to be Winston and everything, and I was like, I would have wanted to be
Fucking
Winston.
set up more rules, man.
Yeah. I'm like, that's actually my favorite character of the 4, believe it or not.
He's got my second favorite line in the whole movie. Tell him about the Twinkie.
Yeah.
Tell him about the Twinkie.
Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, I guess the thing for me is that, all right, I guess it kind of applies, but to me, I had to leave this one out because I felt like it was too centered. It doesn't feel ensemble-y to me, if that makes sense.
I have to agree. I feel like it's Venkman and the 3 Ghostbusters. Like, it's his story and the other kind of just tie around it.
A little bit, yeah. And I just didn't feel like... And they don't have that kind of thing where...
Busted.
Like, with your other choices where, like, say... Even with, like, Grown-Ups or Wild Hogs or whatever, where each one, even though they're all together, they're like their little gang, whatever, they're little, but they each also kind of have their own little story, sort of, you know what I mean? Like, the only one that really does is Venkman, because the other ones, Ray and Egon and them, like, they're great. I fucking love...
That's my favorite one.
Yeah, I love Ghostbusters, but they don't have that kind of, like, venturing off with their own stories, and then there's other, like, important characters that really kind of, but I'm just, bear with me for a second. I will give you props for it and say that because this is another, like, walking the line kind of one, like we talked about earlier, because where it does feel like important and ensemble-y to me is the inclusion of Rick Moranis into the fucking mix. Because even though he's a supporting character and stuff, the way he ends up being so important, especially towards, like, the end of the movie and stuff and things that happen, it's like, okay. To me, that sort of pulls it slightly back over to the line to being like, okay, I could give this ensemble legitimacy, if you want to say. So.
I think it's an ensemble. Now you guys are done butchering me.
No, I'm not butchering. I was just...
I was
So
butchering.
call me Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
I'm pretty
Blow me
sure.
up.
Listen, I'm pretty sure if there's anybody here in this room right now that could qualify as Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, it's not you.
All right, fine. But anyway,
I'm the puffy pale one here, so you know. I
anyway,
love Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
I choose it because I don't care about Peter Venkman in his personal life. I cared about when they were busting ghosts. So it was with the four of them together. They were being badass, taking the ghost down. That's what I care about seeing in Ghostbusters. So that's why I chose it.
Okay. Fair enough. I mean,
You know, and my reservations with it are a 45-year-old man's reservations with it. When I was, 11 when that came out, I did not care that it was Venkman centered. It was the four of them, and they were the
Exactly.
Ghostbusters.
Exactly.
Like, and the cartoon that followed it. So in that, I totally agree with you.
yeah,
I'll give you that.
That's
I
what I
don't care about
said.
his love life. Who cares?
Well, that's not even a matter of caring about it. I just meant that it felt like
I know,
it
it's-
was more
it's centric.
centered on him, and
I agree.
and not enough on the other to make it feel ensemble enough. But like I said, when I think about it, I think about how great those other characters are, how important they are to the movie, how important even somebody like Rick.
Venkman can't go do it by himself.
No, that's true. But there could have been a little bit more involvement of the other characters and make it feel a little more ensemble-y to me. But it's a borderline one. I can go either way.
And to me, like speaking of borderline, one of my other choices in there was borderline because while it's a comedy, I don't know that it's, to me, when I think of Ghostbusters first, I don't know that comedy is what I think first.
No.
Because there's four comedians that are in it, but it's more of that supernatural thriller kind of thing with some comedic aspects that are kind of exactly. But I like that about it, and that's what I like about some of the movies that we're picking is that the genres that they're falling into kind of mix some of that too, which is really cool.
I've got choices like that. Yeah, absolutely. We get into our oceans.
Yeah, and that's my main point. Is like you don't think of that as a comedy at first. No, it's a heist film. It's a buddy film.
But it's pretty goddamn funny.
But there are incredibly funny parts in that, and that's how I feel about Ghostbusters. As I wouldn't call it a comedy first, but it is a comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
You get a pass.
Let's keep it.
She's like, I'm gonna so punch him in the fucking face.
But if you want to talk about a true ensemble Ghostbusters comedy, I think the all-female version, that was
I did not see that.
I haven't seen it. I saw parts of it.
you guys, and I'm sorry guys, you guys didn't really miss anything.
Oh yeah.
I love all of those actresses individually.
Yeah.
I just did not care for the direction in which they took the particular film.
Yeah, and that was kind of what I gathered from the little bit I saw, and of course, because I'm Mr. Spoiler, I read the entire plot of the movie and synopsis of it and everything. And it wasn't one of those things that I went, oh god, this is fucking horrible, and fuck this, and why are they doing this, like so many raging, stupid fanboys out there and stuff. But what I saw of it, I just went, okay. And for being Ghostbusters, it shouldn't just elicit a response out of me. It should be better than that. So it's a shame, because contrarily, something like Bridesmaids, dude, that movie is fucking hilarious.
Yes. I'm surprised they didn't make any of our ensemble.
I've never seen it.
Oh my gosh.
That's what I told her. I'm like, I bet you'll love that movie.
Oh, that's so up your alley.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah,
great humor in it. It's
Melissa McCarthy in that is just phenomenal.
It's coming out of me like hot lava. Oh my god. Yeah, that is on my honorable mentions list. I wrote it down as an honorable mention.
Nice.
I have another one that's an honorable. But yeah, that one was real close as well. But again, it was another one that I just hadn't watched enough times to. It didn't, outrank these other ones and stuff. But anyway, getting back to Ghostbusters and everything, that you've, the more I think about it, when you first mentioned it earlier, I was like, nope, that ain't right. But when I think about it and everything we've kind of debated about it, what qualifies and not, no, I think you're right.
It's a walk in the line one.
I am definitely wrong on this one. Unlike the fact that
I'm sorry.
That's on recording too.
I said I was definitely wrong about
Okay,
this
you got
one.
it twice.
Wow.
Yeah. Unlike Die
That
Hard.
is my ringtone. No, don't
Unlike
even
Die
say it.
Hard.
No, don't. We're gonna go off the rails, and we can't.
Yeah, we're off the rails here.
Yeah.
You're wrong, but let's move on.
It's not a holiday movie. Okay, anyway, so Moving on, yeah, you can make those, you could side eye all you want. So moving on, what was, can we talk about, I'd like to talk about Oceans, if we can, the Oceans.
Yeah, absolutely.
films. Like,
Go for it, guys.
Ocean's 11.
Wait, have you seen it?
No.
Oh, wow.
I've seen I don't know. Bits and pieces, maybe?
Bits and Pits?
Bits and bits.
Bits and pieces.
Yeah.
This movie's so fucking good. I mean, I think it's one of the best movies made in the last 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
that good. And it's one of those ones where I think that being an ensemble cast and having the people that were in it, you know, that being these kind of big sort of love 'em or hate 'em names like Pitt and Clooney and so on, and Casey Affleck and these different, and Matt Damon. And
Mad.
you have to say Matt,
Yeah.
you just have to. Ever since
Damon.
Team America World Police came out, you have to say Matt Damon. But anyway, having those kind of names in it, I think in a lot of ways worked against it with a lot of people, because a lot of people went, oh God, you know, this is just gonna be some big Hollywood bullshit, you know, just for these guys to get a big paycheck. Is that what you thought? You're wrong.
So wrong.
No, seriously, and
I don't really care.
and that's what I'm saying. I don't completely blame you if you would have a skeptical approach to it, because I know a lot of people did. And when I first heard about it, my skeptical approach towards it was because I was familiar with the original Danny Ocean in Ocean's 11, you know, the 1960 with Frank Sinatra and all the Rat Pack. It's like one of the Rat Pack movies, you know, and the original's brilliant movie, a great ending and stuff. But
With this one, other than the title and Danny Ocean, like
it's different. They're two,
totally
but yeah,
different,
and that's when I saw it. I was like, oh, okay, good. I like the fact that they weren't trying to just remake it. They gave it a completely new, unique story. And
what is that unique story?
well,
For those who
the
haven't
unique
seen it?
story, yeah, I guess there's probably people, well, like Megan,
Like
that has
Megan.
it. So what I'm going to give you the really quick, brief synopsis of it is that Danny Ocean, George Clooney, he went to jail. I guess not wrongly, but it is because he's a con artist and stuff and everything. But while he was in jail and prior to that, his woman Julia Roberts ended up hooking up with this smarmy casino owner played by Andy Garcia. Andy Garcia, you just hate that motherfucker in this movie. He's
got the little short man walk and everything. Like
Yeah.
they played him up well.
he did a great job. Andy Garcia is awesome, you know. But so Danny gets this whole idea that he's going to rip off Andy Garcia. He's going to rip off his casino on
Not just one casino.
So I was going to get to that. So and Andy Garcia has multiple and everything, and he figures out this whole system of how they save the money from takes and stuff, and it's also going to happen concurrently with like the big Vegas boxing match that's going to have that night. So they figure out this whole plan. He's got this whole scheme that he's been thinking about and figuring out of how they're going to do this, the biggest heist of all time. Like, it's going to be ridiculous. And what it really comes down to is, even though he wants the money and everything, it really is just about like
Julia Roberts.
sticking it back to this motherfucker, this asshole,
You should have gone to jail.
and everything. Well,
You
there's
don't got enough night to get
no, there's more to it than that, and
he
because
set
that's
up?
what she thought too, and that's why she kind of walked. And you come to find out there's more to it, and he was kind of wronged, and there was just a lot of that fucking, like Matt and I, we talk about too, the bullshit circumstance things that happen only in fucking movies and all that. But what he does is he realizes, he gets together with his buddy, with Brad Pitt, and they come up with this whole idea they work in conjunction with what's his face? I can't think of the is it Elliot Gould?
Elliot Gould.
Elliot Gould, who's got some money and pull and everything. He kind of finances this whole heist. He's sort of like the silent, the Godfather financier behind the whole thing. And they put together this team of 11 people to play all these different roles in the heist because it's super complex. I mean, everything ends up being down so to the fucking moment, the way they, because one guy, and like one guy's like, a master of doing like voices and disguises and stuff, and another guy has got like all the technical know-how to understand how to do things like bombs and controlled explosions, and this fucking cast is incredible. Holy shit, the fucking cast of this movie. So it's got George Clooney, Bernie Mac, Brad Pitt, Elliot Gould, Casey Affleck, Ben's younger brother, who's actually awesome. Don Cheadle is in it. Matt Damon, Carl Reiner, Andy Garcia, Julia Roberts, and
Scott Kahn.
Yeah, Scott Kahn. He's great.
Yeah, Scott
He's
Kahn
great.
and Casey Affleck play brothers.
Yes.
And their constant bickering back and forth is just
Incredible.
It's incredible. Like they're doing 20 questions at one point, and it's like so 20 questions. Like question 20: is he human? Yes. Was it Evil Knievel? Like, and they like guess it, but they're like, it's so funny.
They're also
on it.
driving
Like,
everybody else around them crazy
insane
with their shit. But
Yeah.
they're so good at everybody that does what they do are all like the fucking top. The top, like it's so. This is one of those movies where it was walking a line like we brought up earlier about it's not like a comedy. This movie isn't like a comedy. It's not Airplane. You know what I mean? But
it's Steven Soderbergh, so it's his kind of dry conversational humor.
Yeah.
All of the humor comes in the interactions between people or their self-awareness of what they're doing or things like that. And the great thing is that there are like 4 or 5 twists that happen throughout that you
so many good
think
twists.
you're like, holy crap, how are they getting? And then suddenly something else happens and you're like, whoa, I did
yeah,
not see
there's
that
things
coming
that
at all.
like, and that's what and things
you're
that
like, 'cause
without giving it away.
Yeah, you're like, holy shit, no, they're done for now.
And then you're like, oh my god, that was fixed too? Like, you're like, how could they have known? Like, they knew everything that was gonna fuck. And you're sitting there literally like, you're like tense, like, oh my god, they're fucked. Like, oh my god, like, it's like this total nail biter, but then at the same time, then all of a sudden, like in the middle of all this nail bitey shit, there'll be some line or something that happens. Fuck you, and then you're fucking laughing your ass off. That breaks that tension just enough. I cannot recommend this movie highly enough. It's so good, and again, you're not the only one that kind of blows this one off because it was so successful. And then they came out with the sequels and the offshoots,
13 and 15.
and then Ocean's 8 and everything, and those are all good in their own right, but none of them come close to Ocean's 11.
Yeah.
Ocean's 11 stands out head and shoulders above the rest of them. The others are watchable.
But to me, it's also like you were talking about with grown-ups. It's that the chemistry and the camaraderie that they have when they work together. You can tell that everybody that's doing this, they genuinely respect each other and like working with each other, and it's wonderful to watch. But it's also really cool because like one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie is they're prepping Matt Damon is the pickpocket in this. So he is going to meet with Andy Garcia to retrieve a piece that they need in order to break into the vault. And Brad Pitt is coaching him, Matt Damon, on how to get in to pick the pocket of Andy Garcia. And he's like, you want to walk in and you want to be memorable, but he needs to forget you the minute that you walk out of the room. You want to be funny, but don't make him laugh. You want to do this, but not this. And most importantly, this is the most important thing. And then as soon as he says that, somebody else calls Brad Pitt. He's like, hey, what do you need? And just walks away. And you're like, what the fuck? What was the most important thing? And they never but it's moments like that you're like, but it's so funny at the same time. You go back and you watch and like, oh, it's awesome.
Because you're always wondering if they're going to miss like one little detail or something. And there's things that, there's stuff that's like real, And I won't tell you how it ends,
No,
you know.
don't tell me.
No, yeah. Cause,
but to me, it's also one of those movies like because it's a multiple viewing kind of movie. Like once you watch it and you see what happens, you're like,
I need to go back and watch it
you want to
again.
go back
How
and watch
did
it
they get
again.
past that?
Knowing how it came to be what it was. But there were like little throwaway things like Brad Pitt, if you watch, he's always eating something. He's always got something, and he's just like mowing on it, and he's doing this. And they make these little moments, what should just be very mundane, it's humorous as hell.
Yeah,
but it's so dry, it's great at the same time.
Yeah.
We should have a movie night.
Yeah, then maybe this will be one of the ones that we'll go and like we'll have you watch and then get your input on it and see if you agree or if you disagree with us on it, if you're willing.
I'll for that one maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll do it.
All right. Okay, cool.
The other one I don't know.
All right. Well, since that one was one of both of ours and everything, what about you? You had your Wild Hogs we still got to talk about.
Yes, Wild Hogs.
I'm stoked about this one. I completely forgot about it.
So Wild Hogs is about 4 middle-aged men who kind of stuck in a rut, you'd say, and decide, well, Woody, John Travolta's guy, says, well, you know what, let's just go on a motorcycle ride across the country. Because he's trying to escape all his problems. And
Right.
he's got to like con the other ones into it. And so they eventually go and hilarity ensues. They get in all sorts of trouble.
Because it's Martin Lawrence.
Yeah, I was going
and,
to say, who all's in this?
yeah.
I'm trying
Martin
to-
Lawrence, Tim Allen.
John
John Travolta,
Travolta,
and who's the
and
fourth?
William H. Macy.
Well, that's right. He's awesome
Dudley.
in it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, John Travolta's my favorite in this one. He cracked me the fuck up. Oh, I love him so much. Like, you're being weird. Stop being weird. He's like over there freaking out.
Well, and the best part is like halfway through the movie, Ray Liotta shows up. He's the bad guy in the movie.
Right.
And you're like, holy crap, I didn't think he was going to be in this. It's
Right.
awesome. Peter Fonda shows up at one point as like the Easy Rider, because I mean, if you're going to have a
Right.
motorcycle movie, you have to have him in it.
Right.
But yeah, no, this is one of those movies that, again, I've got those. My movies tend to fall like in those nostalgia periods. And again, this was one of those ones my dad loved. So like we'd watch it, I'd go over on like a Saturday afternoon, he would just pop it in and it was on there. And it's awesome. Like the idea of, and I feel like there's a theme with a lot of these movies of that, like revisiting the youth and kind of coming back to
Sure.
you know, the things that made you happy and things like that. And this to
Exactly.
me,
It's
like
exactly that.
this is something I would want to do with some guy friends. Just jump on a motorcycle and drive across the country and just have a blast doing it. But it's like any other comedy. They run into like everything that can go wrong,
It's gonna go wrong.
does go wrong. Like running out of gas, knocking over other bikes,
Set
you
your
know.
tents on fire.
Yeah, it's horrible. But they end up in this cute little town.
Yeah. Madrid.
Madrid. Yes. And it's like that home away from home for them.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, I stole your movie from you.
No,
I'm-
no.
Yeah, I feel bad.
that
We
it's
keep
funny.
sorry.
talking and like.
So
like-
no, because I love that you love it so much. Because I just John Travolta cracks me the fuck up. Like when they're in that pond and that guy swims up to him. He's like, oh, his reactions to everything when they. Well, I don't want to give too much away, but
Yeah.
when he's looking back, he's like, oh gosh, he's like freaking out the rest of the movie.
Yeah, after they run into the
Biker guys,
gang,
yeah.
the real
Fuegos
bikers.
or whatever they are.
Yeah, the
Los
Fuegos,
Fuegos,
yeah.
That's awesome.
But to me, I love, and I completely forgot that William H. Macy was in it, because now that you mentioned that, he plays so, like, against character from his Shameless character,
Oh,
or those
God,
other
yeah.
things. He's this meek little, like, accountant-ish type
Geeky
guy.
guy.
Yeah, geeky guy that just doesn't fit.
Can't
and you
talk to
watch
women.
him. No, it's amazing. He cracks me up in that, because he's so against character. For
William
some of
H.
the stuff
Macy's
he's in.
amazing.
He's a really
Yeah,
good
his
character.
range is great.
Little Bill and Boogie Nights, you know. Oh man,
Oh,
Gosh,
yeah.
that character. Whew. He had a rough time. But anyway, this movie, this
Yeah,
one.
so it's great. It's like just a little buddy movie. They, like you said, the four go off and do something. I'd love to do that. I always wanted to go like just get a car, just drive.
Yeah,
See
it's
where
like,
you
it's
end
like
up.
it's the
There's no
ultimate road
rules.
trip.
There's
Yeah.
no nothing. Just see what
Get chased by a
happens.
biker gang and
Yeah.
crazy
Get a cop
motorcycle
trying-
cops.
Trying to hit on you every 2 seconds.
Oh
This
man.
fucking movie.
No,
Yeah.
to me, I like those fish out of water kind of movies, you know, because like the older I get, like the more regrets I have in life. Not like huge regrets, but I'm like, God, I wish I could go back and just change that one little thing.
Sure.
And like this is that movie that like they take that chance and they go ahead and they just rock out and do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think Wild Hogs is a perfect choice.
Yes.
I think that
Mm.
perfectly
concur.
fits for, unlike your Ghostbusters thing but yeah, I came around.
Yeah, all right. I
But
got
we've got one other one of yours that we're going to debate in a little while though.
I'll prove you wrong on that one, too.
Okay, we'll see about that. You think you can get it? Do you think you can get 2 hits? I don't know. I think you should be.
I'll do my best.
Yeah, I think you got lucky enough to get me to admit to 1 wrong. I don't know about 2.
But the cool thing is he admitted it twice, so like maybe you can edit it around so that you can take that second I was wrong
Motherfucker.
and edit it to the
Give away this. Why did you make it?
Ladies and
The whole
gentlemen,
reason I
I
made
hope
him repeat it.
I hope you enjoyed Matt Valuckis' one and only appearance on this show. It's been nice knowing you, Matt. God damn it, twisting my shit around on me. Anyway, yeah, we'll see when we get there. So, I would like to talk a little bit about Super Troopers.
You would. That's
Yeah.
coincidental because that was actually my number 3.
Yeah, it was your number 3.
We're jumping around so much, I
forget the
forgot where I put
spaces.
it.
Well,
Yeah.
it's mine. It's because some of these I moved around a few times, so I forget where I put them. But anyway, yes, Super Troopers.
So Super Troopers came out in 2001. The basic plot of it is that there are these Vermont state troopers that get into all these shenanigans and pranks and things like that, but they tend to get in trouble a lot too. So it turns out that the state of Vermont decides they want to downsize the state police force, and the local cops are going to be taking over their stretch of road that the state patrols.
Okay.
But at the same time, there is this crime that occurs that basically the state troopers, the super troopers, decide that if they can solve it first, they can stay in the good graces of the governor, who will keep their station open. So it's the guys, the comedy troupe Broken Lizard. So at the time that it came out, they weren't really known for anything else.
Right.
But the main guy in it, and I always pronounce his name improperly, it's Jay Chanrasaka or something like that.
Okay.
I forget his name. But he's gone on to do episodes. He directed episodes like The Goldbergs and Resident Alien, Fresh Off the Boat, New Girl, Community, Happy Endings, Chuck. He actually was part of the Knight Rider remake in 2008.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Arrested Development. So like
Right.
these staples of comedy that have happened over the last 15 years that really came about him writing this particular movie with the troupe. But it's one of those movies that when it came out, with me being a 25-year-old guy, like, if you would sit around just drinking with the buddies and getting pizza, like, the drunker you got, the funnier this movie got. Because it was a lot of one-liners, and because they were this comedy troupe, again, that we're going back to that idea of all of them getting along and having this great relationship, like the zingers that would come off of each other. It was fantastic.
It's definitely, especially hanging out with you and our bandmates and other friends and stuff, and yeah, this is definitely your kind of
it totally
humor
is.
and
Like,
banter.
it's like one-offs. They rip on each other a lot. They prank each other a whole lot.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen somebody do that, like, hey, meow, look at meow.
Yeah. Meow. Did
Have
just
you
say
never
meow?
heard that?
No.
Oh my gosh! So that was like one of the big things is they would dare each other. If you do a traffic stop, how many meows can you get in there? Look here, meow. Do you know how fast you're going, meow? Yeah. It was that kind of thing, and like.
So your license and registration, meow? And excuse me, did you just say meow?
Yeah.
It's like,
What am I, a cat? Jumping from branch to branch, drinking milk, all nimbly bimbly? No.
it's like, now please hand me your license, meow.
Yeah, they totally played it up, and it was awesome. Like there's some great sight gags in there. Like one of the Vermont State Troopers ends up falling for one of the girls that is a member of the local police department, and they decide they're going to get together and share whatever evidence they have. And she mentions, "We'll show up tonight. Meet me at this restaurant at 8:00. We'll dress in a disguise." And they jump to the next scene. And she is wearing this full leather biker outfit with teased hair and everything, and he walks in a cycling outfit with like the speed, like the really tight shorts and like the bicycle hat and everything. And he just walks up to her and he's like, "Oh, biker." I'm an idiot." And it's little moments like that you're like, that's funny as hell, because it kind of ties into some of that airplane
Right.
kind of humor,
Right.
where it's just remedial enough. It's awesome. It's also a good stoner movie. I'm not a pot guy at all,
No,
but
me neither.
those that enjoy that say that if you're high, this movie is funny as fuck.
Okay.
Yeah.
Take your word for that one.
Yeah, it's
Or their word for it, I guess.
it's interesting. I guess it makes sense. I wouldn't have immediately thought of this when I would think of ensembles, but I guess it makes sense and everything. I mean, it is the whole cast. Yeah, okay.
Do you think I'm wrong? Fuck you.
No, no. I'm just saying maybe because it makes sense, but for whatever reason, it wasn't one that jumped out to me when I thought of like ensemble. And maybe it's because it's not like a name cast kind of thing. Like almost all of our other choices are like name casts and like known comedians and comedic actors and actresses and stuff like that, and this is definitely more, but yeah, as we're talking about it, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I guess that is like an ensemble thing, because it is about like the whole, it isn't just centered on one, so much.
And some of it breaks off. They've got like their own individual stories of like little things and interests, but it's not like
Which is
there are
cool.
plots that deviate from it, but it's just more you have like one-on-one moments with each of them, which is really cool.
Right.
It's also got Brian Cox in it, who is an
Right.
actor I love, and then it had my first crush ever, Linda Carter. She plays the
Oh,
governor in
yes.
that. She was the one that first gave me tinglies below my belt, so anything that she's in I automatically love.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Linda Carter rules.
Yes.
Just rules. Super awesome lady and super talented. I would like to talk about what was my number tres,
Yes.
and that was Animal House.
Oh, yeah.
Animal House. This movie. Now we're getting back into the territory of movies that Larry saw far too young. Because my parents, once again, and my mom's so funny because we fight all the time about memory stuff. She swears that I remember everything wrong. Like, that's not how, when you're remembering everything wrong, I don't trust your memory. And I'm like, Mom, I'm not saying I'm beyond not possibly remembering things wrong or having my own viewpoint, and everything, but I have an incredible memory. I can remember just ridiculous shit. And my mom just doesn't remember things like at all. And she's like, we didn't let you watch movies like Animal House when you were 6 years old. And I'm like, yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. I have very, very clear memories of watching this movie. And the funny thing about it is, this was a movie that I would watch at home when it first came out on video, which was probably like late 79, early 80. Because we had a VCR way before just about anybody. And I had to be trained on, because they know, like, they'd seen it at the theater and everything. They were like, now you have to cover your eyes. The funny thing about it is, I didn't have to cover my ears. And y'all might wonder why. Like, man, Larry just fucking curses up a motherfucking storm. And it's like, well, I was listening to these movies, and I had two parents who were both Chicago police officers who had quite the vernacular, you know what I mean, and everything. And, so I didn't know, and it was years, because it was years before I finally watched it on my own, probably at least by the time I was like a tween or, maybe 12 years old or something like that I watched it unsupervised. And for years, I had no idea what was going on. The scene when John Belushi is hopping the ladder over so he can look in the different girls' windows when they're all topless and pillow fighting and everything. And it just baffled me for years because I didn't know what was going on. I just hear that cha-chunk, cha-chunk, cha-chunk of the ladder moving, and I'd be sitting there with my eyes covered,
What
going,
could it possibly be?
What is going on? I hear girls giggling in this ka-chunk sound, and then all of a sudden I hear him fall and like hit the ground, and then they play the Faber music, dun, 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 go to the next scene, and it's like, okay, you can uncover your eyes, Larry, and it's like, I want to know. But then there was the whole scene with Larry, which was funny enough that my name was Larry. Anyways, Larry with the young 13-year-old girl was really passing out in his room, and the little devil on his shoulder, telling him to fuck her brains out and all this stuff. Oh, I heard all that. Parents never thought like, they just were like, he doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. He's not going to understand. Whatever, let him sit there. Also, the other thing, to be fair, Mom, is that my dad would watch this movie a lot of times while Mom would be like at work or something like that, and my dad would have like a couple buddies over, and they'd get, drinks and ribs and pizza and stuff, and they'd be like, Larry, you want to watch Animal House with us? Just cover up your eyes, bud, you know the spots. Everything. So I saw that movie like a bazillion times, and it's another one that, again, I understand that there were big stars in it at the time. Belushi was a big breakout star right about that time. There were other, like, well-respected actors and everything, but I don't feel, and Donald Sutherland has his part and all this, but I feel like it's an ensemble. I feel like that it's about the whole bunch, and I love the fact that it has its moments where it focuses on Flounder and Pinto, and it has its moments where it focuses on Bluto and D-Day and stuff like that. And it has its moments when it focuses on Otter and Boone and all that stuff. But they all, it's about the whole group of them. And some of the best parts of that movie is when it's all of them together. When they're having the toga party, that whole scene and how it all branches off. To me, this is, this is one of the best fucking group comedies ever made. I think this movie's hilarious. What, you're looking at me like you don't quite agree?
No, I do agree. I was curious about Megan's take on it.
I saw it once, so I can't
Oh
really
my
give
God.
my take on it. I was like, whatever.
Yeah,
What?
Not
Whatever?
my type of movie, so.
Yeah, no, this was one of those, I saw it, I don't want to say later in life, but I think I was in my teens when I
Okay.
kind of, like, because this movie in my family was a lot like Meatballs or Revenge of the Nerds. And
Which
those kind
she
of movies.
loves
I love
Meatballs.
Meatballs.
Right, but it was too much. It was adult content, and I was raised as a good Catholic kid, so I wasn't, unless I watched it at
wasn't.
somebody else's house in a sleepover, I didn't really get to watch it.
Yeah.
But it was one of those movies that, like, when you did watch it, like it's so incredibly quotable, like the Double Secret Probation. Like, you look at some of these things, and again, it's a movie for its time. Like,
yeah.
Such not a movie that could be done properly right now.
You mean like You Mind If We Dance With Your Dates?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sure, go right ahead.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of my humor is questionable. I'm sorry, folks. I'm from that era. I am almost 50 years old. So, but it's just, it is to me a classic example. I understand that people sit there and, they, again, like I said, they might single out people like Bluto, and stuff like that. But I don't know. I feel like everybody in that movie is pretty evenly spread out in terms of importance and gags and an incredible cast. A lot of actors that went on to do even greater things.
The first movie of Mr. Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, Kevin. Yeah, thank you, sir. May I have another?
Yes.
I mean, talk about another quote line. Mark Metcalf is Niedermeyer. Later went on to be in the Twisted Sister videos.
Yeah.
Which of course I was all excited about and everything. Tom Halsey, later on went on to be Amadeus, and which is another one of my all-time favorite movies, and everything. Yeah, it was a good springboard for Karen Allen's in it. Yeah, it's a great movie. You should give it another chance.
You should.
I don't understand why you wouldn't like that movie.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I think it was who I watched it with. Leaves me tainted.
I see.
You said taint.
Yeah. I get that. I've had that experience too. Yeah, when you watch something with somebody that you don't have like great
Fun memories of.
associative memories with and stuff. Yeah, I get it. Well, we'll see.
The thing I like about it though is same with Airplane. It's a classic movie that spawned a generation of movies after that. To me, not only is it that, I mean, it's National Lampoon, and if I remember correctly, this was one of, if not the first movie that was produced by National Lampoon, the magazine.
If it's not the first one, it's definitely one of the first. Yeah.
But it gave credence to, again, Vacation and the movies that came after that, Van Wilder, and those movies, all of the writers that were for National Lampoon it was Harvard Magazine? Is that where that came from? I know it was one of the Ivy League schools.
Yeah, I forget.
That a lot of these great writers came from that. To me, like, as I got older and I learned more about the movies themselves, I appreciated the fact that this was a movie that was written by these upper echelon of educated men who wrote this lowbrow movie.
Right.
And it was really cool.
You know who the main writer was for this movie?
No.
It was Harold Ramis.
Oh, really?
Egon. Yeah. I mean, and that's, and then
Right.
this...
You were kind of pushing me back the other way.
Yeah.
Because and another movie that I first thought of, speaking of, when I was saying earlier, there were ones that I thought of, and then I said, "Oh no, wait, that's really not. It doesn't count enough for me." Was another Harold Ramis written one, which is Stripes.
Yes.
And so at first I thought, because it's got it does have this great cast and everything, but then when I really thought about it, I said, no, that's about Bill Murray.
It is a Bill Murray vehicle.
It's a Bill Murray
vehicle
vehicle movie, and everybody else is kind of supporting and stuff. It's not an ensemble enough, even though it does have this amazing cast that feed off of each other at times.
But to me, like a movie like that, what works for me to call it a classic, even if it's not an ensemble, and I know this is kind of off topic a little bit, but the amount of references that are made to that movie in other movies and other TV shows. I mean, Van Wilder, it's his dad is played by. I'm spacing on his name.
I can't think of his name.
Yeah. But like even old school, they're on triple secret probation.
Right,
they're
right.
Clearly, pulling that off. That when you make a movie like that kind of permeates into society as a whole, it becomes bigger than what that movie is. And I think for me, outside of it being an ensemble movie, it touches so many other aspects of pop culture. It's hard not to appreciate that movie for what it is.
And that's how I chose a lot of my choices in my top 5. That's sort of what I based it on, was because, this one, my number 1 that we're going to get to yet, obviously, Airplane, all that. I really looked at it like,
There might be other ones that I might watch more frequently now. Kind of to your point, like I don't necessarily know. I think at this point, if I had a choice between sitting down watching Airplane or Hot Tub Time Machine, I'd probably watch Hot Tub Time Machine because I'm not as burned out on it. I can play Airplane in my fucking mind. I don't need to sit down and watch it. I've seen it so many times. But it's just that sort of aspect to how influential it was and, you know, to the genre, since we're picking for, you know, we're singling out this genre and everything. So yeah, that's how I feel about Animal House. I mean, there's other movies of its kind that I may even watch more frequently now than Animal House, but Animal House is fucking Animal House. You know, it ranks, man. It ranks up there. So, moving on, what do we got left? We got
Did we get all yours minus your number one?
Minus my number one, yeah, so we're on to you guys.
So, we got a debate. I know you've got a debatable one. Possibly a debatable one.
Possibly.
Possibly.
Yeah, this is my walk. Definitely my walking the line one. So, Man at the Museum. So, for those that don't know, it is about a guy,
Ben Stiller, yeah,
whose name is Larry.
Always, because it's such a funny dork name. Motherfuckers, man. Anyway.
So he gets a new job at this museum as a night guard, and Dick Van Dyke, and I can't remember the other two guards' names, but they like pass the baton on to him. They're retiring.
Yeah, the three old curmudgeon-y, shady guards.
Yeah, they're real shady like. But they turn it over to him. They're like, just follow the guidebook. Here you go, throw it out. They didn't explain anything. And at night, everything comes to life and runs amok and tears the whole museum apart. And he's left to clean it up in the morning. But that's basically the movie.
That's more or less, kind of.
More or less, without giving anything away.
Yeah.
More or less the plot line, anyway. So, but it's got Ben Stiller, which I know you guys are going to say it's all about Ben Stiller, okay? But hear me out. Wait.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Wait.
Okay. I'm waiting.
But it has Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Plays Theodore Roosevelt. How do you say it? Rami Malek.
Rami Malek, yeah.
Malek plays Atman Ra.
Yeah.
Steve Coogan is Octavian.
Which is amazing.
And Owen Wilson is Jedediah.
It's also amazing.
I love him so much in this. Okay, here's my reasoning here.
Okay.
So I think all those guys that are in the museum, this wouldn't be a movie without them. They all have to come together, make this thing work to put the museum back together. To save the museum, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you take out Ben Stiller's life outside of the museum, it's still the same movie. I don't care about his broken home or trying to impress the kid, or I don't care about any of that. I care about the hijinks
that goes on in the museum.
And then if you take that and then put on the other movies that come after it, it's all about the museum characters.
Well, no, because it does get
day.
into what's going on with his life, because then with his kid and all that kind of stuff, and growing up and the whole... Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Matt, you want to tackle this first?
I agree with Megan.
Yes!
I didn't think that I would.
Ass mofo.
No, I didn't think I would at first, because it is a Ben Stiller vehicle.
Yeah.
You're right. But the point that you make, if you took Ben Stiller out and it was still Dick Van Dyke who was the guard, those shenanigans would still be happening no matter what. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll go with that. I see that. Now, I say that very reluctantly because I'm not a Ben Stiller fan in general. And that has nothing to do, with the character. It's just his movies are very tough for me to watch. So when you've got all these other great characters who are doing stuff, I'm cool with that because I don't have to watch Ben Stiller. So
Okay.
yeah, but no, I think you're right, and I think the way that they all interact together is fantastic. So especially Steve Coogan and when Owen Wilson, with the two of them together, their chemistry
my gosh. They're the best part of the entire movie.
Yes, they are. You throw the
Put me
monkey.
down, I don't like the manhandle.
Yeah. You throw the monkey in there, and you've got like the perfect trifecta for me. So as far as an ensemble goes to make the movie work, if you took those characters out and it was Ben Stiller with other people playing those parts, I don't know that it would work so well. So I didn't think I would, but I do agree with you.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate that.
Yay.
Okay.
You're my new favorite.
So, wow. Well, I was never your favorite to begin with, so because Vito's gone, so whatever. But anyway,
All right, give it to me.
I know you want me to say I'm wrong.
I don't need you to. I got it twice earlier. So.
I don't know that I'm wrong. I think I'm right, but this is where it comes down to what we talked about at the beginning of the show, where it's coming down to like personal standards and stuff. I wouldn't include this for the same reason I wouldn't include Stripes, which I had originally wanted to include. Because I was looking at Stripes the same way you are looking at Night at the Museum. I was looking at Stripes like, to me, Ramus's character and Candy's character and, all the different people's like characters in that were so important to me in that movie, and I feel like they're just as much stars in so many ways as fucking Bill Murray is, you know what I mean? Like, not that I didn't like Bill Murray in it, but you know what I mean? Like, he in my mind didn't stand out as being that important, just like Ben Stiller doesn't stand out in your mind as being that much more important than everything else. Like, that it's so, all those other people are so important in the way they interact with each other and carry the story along is important. So, I guess in that regard, I do agree.
Close enough. I'll take it.
I guess in that regard, I have to agree with you on that and everything. But for my standards, just the way it is kind of made and the way it's presented and the way they want it, Stripes is a Bill Murray movie. Night at the Museum is a Ben Stiller movie. So it's like technically it's probably not, but I could accept that as being it,
Yeah, because I see it like it's more Ben Stiller's character is their vehicle
to have the
stop
ensemble.
what's happening.
And that's what it is. I get that. I know it makes sense, and I just love Night at the Museum so fucking much.
It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
I love the second one especially.
Yeah,
that's the one with Amy Adams in it.
I think so.
With
Yeah,
Maggie Hart, yeah.
As a, oh yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. That's I enjoy Amelia Earhart.
Brown chicken, brown cow.
Exactly. So okay, we'll let it slide.
All right, I'm in. I'll take it.
All right, so we just got a last couple of ones. I'll keep this one fairly short because I know you guys aren't familiar with it.
I'm not at all. Again, I thought it was Cougar.
No. You were close enough. No, it's
a
Stanley Kramer. Stanley Kramer film.
So
It's
close yet, so far.
different
So far.
different director from the 60s. So this movie, I feel like this was the one that really started and really defines what is an ensemble film, because now to a lot of younger listeners or viewers, maybe even like yourselves or even younger and stuff, you might look at the names that are in here and go, yeah, I'm not too familiar with it. But this was literally like on par and more with like an Ocean's 11 type cast. These were like the big fucking name stars of its time. So it's a movie, the main cast, and this isn't even counting, there's a shitload of fucking cameos.
You were going to say fuck ton, weren't you?
Yeah, I was trying to tie between fuck ton and shitload, but it was not quite a fuck ton, but a shitload of cameos, big cameos in this movie from people like Jerry Lewis and who's the one with the violin? I can't even think of his name now. Jack Benny. Like all these old famous comedians from the 40s, 50s, 60s and stuff. Three Stooges have a cameo. The actual Three Stooges have a cameo in this. They're the small ones, The big cast is Spencer Tracy, Milton Berle, Sid Caesar. You know who Sid Caesar is? Mm-mm. He's the coach from Grease.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah. See, that's what I said.
They named the salad after him.
Oh boy, Salad Caesar. Buddy Hackett, one of the funniest fucking comedians ever. Oh my God, Buddy Hackett was amazing. Ethel Merman. You know who Ethel Merman is, right? And it's, from Airplane. He thinks he's Ethel Merman. You'll be great! You'll be swell! Yeah, Mickey Rooney. You gotta know Mickey Rooney, right? Phil Silvers. Jonathan Winters, who at the very least you have to know who Jonathan Winters is, because that was Mork and Mindy's kid. Do you remember when Mork and Mindy had a kid and he was an old man? Mm-hmm. You remember that? Yeah. You don't remember? Oh my God.
Oh.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Sorry, guys.
Anyway, so Edie Adams, Jimmy Durante, you know, everybody, Jimmy, yeah, with the nose and everything, old. And he was old at that point, you know. It's this amazing movie, and it not only is it an ensemble comedy thing, but it also set up all the other movies that came later that have to do with going out on the road, on the big chase, Cannonball Run. This predates Cannonball Run. What this is about is a bunch of people are driving down a California highway, and they witness a car accident. They witness a car go down this embankment and crash and everything. The people out of these several cars, and they don't know each other, just different people, all run down to see if the guy is okay that was driving the car, and it was Jimmy Durante. And you come to find out Jimmy Durante was this like criminal con guy that had gotten away or whatever. And he tells them as he's laying there on his deathbed, as he's ready to die, that he's going to die before he can go and retrieve his big treasure that he hid, you know, of all this money he had. It was, I forget how much money it was supposed to be. It was like $200,000 or something like that, which back then in 1963 was like a lot of money. And he tells them that it's buried under a big W. And they're going, a big W? What the hell are you talking about? So he gives them like these basic instructions of like where they got to go to like figure out how to, you know, it's over in this other town or whatever. I was on my way there and now I'm going to die. And it's, you know, it's in this town and it's buried under a big W, you know, so whoever gets it, it's yours kind of thing. And then he dies. And then they're all kind of like, wow, you know, that's like, you know, we feel so bad for this poor guy. Wow, that's a crazy story. Yeah, well, it's nice meeting you. I guess, yeah, time to go home. You know, they're all acting sort of like nonchalant, like, and then they all individually get in their cars and they're like, we're going after that money, right? And they're like, of course we are, we have to. And so it becomes this another thing like Cannonball where they have to go like on this long stretch, I forget how many miles away it is, to get from where they're at to where this money is buried. And they don't even know exactly where it is. They just know it's under a big W. That's the only clue they have of it. And so they gradually see that each one of them is like full of shit, that they're not going home. Like they know they're all like going after it and everything. They're like, oh no, we're gonna beat them to it. And it gets so ridiculous. I can't give away the ending because the ending is just tops it all off. Meanwhile, Spencer Tracy is the cop detective guy who wants to solve this crime, solve this case, find this money and everything. He's got this horrible life. His wife hates him and stuff. His kid is threatening to run away with some beatnik or something like that. It's the 60s. And he's just like, he's supposed to be like retiring, but he has like no money, like all his there's no like retirement pension for him. Anyway, it's that. And this movie influenced a lot of other movie makers and writers and stuff later. Without this movie, there'd be no Airplane, there'd be no Cannonball Run, there'd be no, you know, there'd be none of that kind of stuff. It may be hard to grasp that from the way I'm excitedly explaining this, but you just got to take my word for it.
I'm going to check it out this weekend.
Hopefully you have better luck than I do.
Right, yeah. Where you just like
that's
see a
right up
black
my alley.
screen.
It's a freaking treasure hunt.
It is.
Right, it sounds really cool.
That's up all
And
week.
it's not, and it's not, you know, it's not raunchy because of like the made in the time it was. Like I said, it's more, you know, fairly wholesome. Unless you're an adult, you get like some of the entendres and a lot of that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's an interesting movie. It's amazing they got made. It also made a lot of money because it cost $9 million to make, which in 1963 was a lot of money. But for the cast it had and all the locations and the effects and everything, it earned $60 million.
Wow. Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
$60 million for the early 60s.
That's huge.
This is this was considered one of the big movies to, you know, probably one of the biggest movies of like the 50s and 60s and stuff. It's a good movie. I'm just warning you because it's older. It has moments where you're like, okay, you know, it's got some great slapstick and action and stuff, but it does have those moments where it slows down and it takes forever. This movie is also like 3 hours long.
Holy moly, really?
Yeah, at least. It's like a little more, I think, maybe. It's a 3 hour long movie. It actually had an intermission when it showed at the movie theater and stuff. They would get halfway through it and then they had like a 10-minute intermission.
So it's slightly shorter than this podcast.
Just slightly. Yeah. No, this podcast isn't going to be that long once I edit it.
No, it's going to be great.
But we only have one more movie to talk
How
about.
does this end?
And
Right at the end.
Yeah.
I like that we're doing it this way because I know you and I, well, we all did. We all ranked this. This was your number one.
This is my number one.
It's
This is
mine.
your 2 and your 3.
Yes.
And I'm actually surprised you made this number 3 because I know you love this movie.
No, but the other two, I
I get it. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about this movie. Not only because we all love it so much, which makes me really happy, but when I was doing research for this episode that we're recording, and I was trying to look up stuff and go, well, what are some articles or what are some other YouTube videos or whatever where people were doing similar kind of things, and there wasn't a lot. Which was kind of cool. I was like, okay, cool, we're doing something unique. But on the ones that I did read, most of the ones I read and stuff that I saw, this movie didn't really get consideration too much.
really.
And I feel like this even when I was doing the research on it, I found out this movie didn't do good at all.
It did
No,
not.
it did
no,
not.
no.
And-
This movie thrived on video. This is where that cult following happened.
Yes.
So again, we're talking about Clue, 1985.
Fuck yes, we are.
So you have 6 guests anonymously invited to this mansion. The host is killed. People keep dying off one by one, and they're trying to figure out who done it.
Yes.
Love a whodunit.
I love a good whodunit.
As do I.
And
As do I.
growing up, I loved the Agatha Christie type movies, like that murder mystery kind of thing. And this obviously is right in that wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But when I was a kid, outside of the cast, Tim Curry, this started my love for Tim Curry. And I think we're all pretty much in agreement. I'm assuming as much there.
Yeah.
Christopher Lloyd, Michael McKean, Martin Mull, Leslie Ann Warren, Colleen Camp, the cameo by Jane Wheadland from the
Madeline Kahn. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a movie that has cameos not only by Jane from the Go-Go's, but Lee Ving from Fear.
Right, yeah.
From the fucking punk band Fear, which is one of my favorite bands of all time. And when I found out he was in that, I was like, well, what?
And I knew nothing of him. I just knew his name was Lee Ving. And as a
Yeah.
kid, I'm like, that's
That's a cool
awesome.
name.
That's
Yeah.
a cool name. And then I, figured out who he was and everything. But outside of that ensemble cast, I loved those 3 endings. And I always
Yes.
thought that was so cool. Because, if you haven't seen Clue, it could have happened this way. And they play out who one of the killers could have been. Or it could have happened this way. And so there are the 3 distinct endings. And what I thought was awesome is when that came out, each ending aired in a different theater.
Which was cool and unique, but
But it
also worked
bombed.
against them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And from what I was reading, that article was that it bombed because people weren't going to go see this movie 3 times, which
Right.
is what they were hoping people would
No.
do, but it didn't work that way.
That was foolish on their part to
Yeah.
think that had this movie come out exactly like that in 1975, yeah, I think it would have done better. I think you would have gotten enough hype about it and people would have gone to see it 3 times or a couple times or whatever. But in the era when people knew, this was 85, people knew this was coming out on video. By
Yeah.
that point, a good majority of households
You're just going to wait for it.
were either owned VCRs or they used to rent them. You would actually rent VCRs on the weekend and stuff. Like, that was real common. So knowing that was happening, I think a lot of people were like, this was one of the first casualties of, I'll wait for it to come out on video.
Yeah.
This was actually a movie that got better for me as I got older.
Agreed.
First of all, because, as I'm sure the case with you guys too, is I saw it fairly young. When I saw it at the theater, I was only 12. So I was old enough to enjoy it and get it. But there was a lot of that humor I still didn't get. Certain questions, I thought they said, you're a plant? I thought...
Yeah, about mine when you were called a fruit.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't even get that joke.
No, I didn't either until I was older.
The-
But it was Colleen Camp. Like, you had her
Oh.
in that big push-up thing. So again, 12-year-old me loved.
12-year-old me was all about Leslie Ann Warren.
Oh.
That was Leslie Ann Warren. Yeah, she was, man, yeah.
And it's funny, I couldn't tell you why I loved it so much when I was a kid. But the more that I view it as I get older, I find more and more things to appreciate.
Yes.
We were talking, I was mentioning Tim Curry, it started my love for him. He played the straight man so very well to this eccentric cast of characters that were, these comedians that were cast, I feel very, very well for their pieces. But there was one portion, and the last time I watched it, I caught this, when they're all in I think it's the library or the study, and Tim Curry is going through the list of what everybody did and what they were blackmailed for.
Yeah.
And Michael McKean says, I'm not going to wait for this. I'm gay. And it flips to Tim Curry, who has these sheets of paper, and he just does this. like he flips to find out what's going on, but he has this like wide-eyed look on his face. Like the face that he gives makes that scene. And when you can make me chuckle just by a face that you're making, it's amazing to me, and I absolutely love that. But I also love like it was kind of that love letter to the 1940s too. The way it was shot, the mansion, all of that stuff. It had that old like pre-Technicolor kind of feel to it, and like it was awesome.
Yeah. When did you see this movie, Meg?
I actually saw this movie as an adult.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, okay. I thought you saw this when you were younger.
No, I had never even heard of this movie.
Okay.
Until I was way older. Probably my 20s. Adult. But I wanted to see it because I love Clue. The game.
The actual
game.
game.
Like, it's my favorite board game of all time is Clue. So I was like, how can I not love this? So, I don't know. I love it.
What's your favorite character? Can you pick a favorite character?
Like Tim Curry.
Yeah.
Him running around all over the place and everybody chasing him around and running into each other.
Yeah. For me, it's a cross between, as much as I like Leslie Ann Warren, for me, favorite character would be a cross between Tim Curry and Michael McKean.
Yeah.
He's brilliant. I'm a big Michael McKean fan anyway. Of course, I love Spinal Tap, and I love Lenny and the Squigtones, and and I love a lot of his roles he's played and everything. But I just thought the way he played that character and a lot of his humor in that, like you said, and things that he says is so subtle in a lot of ways. Like just everybody in that movie's fucking great. I guess it's hard to pick a favorite.
Well, and I talked earlier, like, I love a movie that's quotable. And there's so many, like, one-offs in that. Like, when my wife and I get confused about something, we do the 1 + 2 + 2 + 1?
Yeah.
1 + 1
No,
+
1
2
+ 2 + 1 + 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's like, or the flames on the side of my, like, breathing.
I hated her so much. Like, flames, the side of my face. This breathing, burning. Me too. I think of that a lot as well. Yeah, no. I just watched this movie back around Halloween. I watched this. It was on, I don't know, Peacock TV or something like that. It was on like at 2 a.m, and it's one of those ones. I'm like, shit. I was gonna go to bed, but now I gotta watch some of this.
Yeah.
Everything. I honestly think that it's one of those movies that still hasn't gotten. A lot of old movies have gotten rediscovered, and I keep expecting people to find this movie and go, oh, this movie deserved way more like its respect for it. It's great, and look at this cast and everything, because now a lot of these actors and actresses are considered to be pretty legendary, you know what I mean? Madeline Kahn, I mean, come on. She was incredible. So I keep expecting there to be this like resurgence, of people going, it's a great movie and this deserves more time. And it really hasn't yet. This goes along with some other movies like that I keep expecting people to find, like Young Sherlock Holmes, and I'm like, it's a fucking great movie, and people are like, oh yeah, whatever, and I'm like, dude, like Tron. People have found Tron now, and that didn't do all that great, but now people are like, oh, Tron, yeah, of course, that movie's and it was so. And I keep expecting that for Clue, and it's not happening. And it's kind of a bummer. Because even though it's kind of fun that it's our, like, little thing, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I'm like, that movie deserves better. I don't know.
Well, I wanted to ask you, you played the game a lot. I try and play that game, and I suck at it. Like, my mental skills, I can't break down enough of, okay, well, it's not here, so it may be here. And those kind of things. Do you play well?
Yeah.
You beat me at it.
I sure did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just can't do it. But one of the things that I liked as far as the board game goes to the adaptation of the film is the way that the secret passages worked, that they tied them in perfectly to the rooms that they should have been in as far as the games go. It was very true to it as far as an adaptation of what that game should be. And I just totally dug that. And then I also dug the fact that, as I was doing research on this movie for the podcast, is that they found a mansion to film that in. Like, it was on location at this mansion in
that's not a
California. Set? No, it wasn't a set. It was a mansion, with the exception of the ballroom. The ballroom they built specifically, but everything else, they found this mansion that just worked perfectly. And unfortunately, it burned down in 2005.
Oh, man.
And when it burned down, like, people left flowers and cards for the house itself because it was so quintessential and a part of that. Oh, and, like, I just it was really cool, like the little backstory of that, and it kind of pisses me off because I would have loved to, like, when I found that out, I'm like, I need to go to California.
As soon as I know she was thinking the same thing. As soon as you started to say that, I was like,
Hogs trip, like I would have jumped on some bikes and been over there, but yeah, it just.
Oh man, yeah. As soon as you were starting to talk about it, when you said it was you in the real mansion, I'm like, oh shit, we might have to check that out.
Yeah.
But what a shame.
Yeah, one of my favorite things to do while playing Clue is once I know something, I'll do everything possible to throw everybody else off.
Yeah, I feel like I couldn't play with you. I'd lose horrendously anyway, but to play like that, yeah, I'd be
So, do you folks at home want to see us do a Board Geeks episode?
I would totally be down for that.
Where we sit there and we try to play Clue, and you all get to laugh and watch Megan kick our ass at this.
Yeah.
Now you said that, you guys are gonna kick my ass.
I
Have
doubt
an
it.
off night or
Something tells me, But yeah, man, it's a great movie. I'm glad you made it your number one. Like I said, if it wouldn't have been for how Mad World looms, and everything, Clue would have been my number one. Yeah. Like I said, I thought.
I'm glad it was on our list.
Yeah, that's the only one, right? That's
the only one.
Yeah, the only one that made all three.
So that makes it number one.
In our hearts.
Exactly. It's number one. It is the number one. If we were ranking, if we were adding up points, it'd be the number one for Geeking Poetic podcast. Yeah. And with that, I think that's pretty much it. The only other thing, like I said, I had mentioned my one honorable mention. Another one I want to mention is an honorable, because this is one of the offshoots of Mad World, like, that came along, was a goofy movie, and it made me think of what you were saying about seeing it on like WGN, and a Sunday movie kind of thing. That's how I saw it. It was a movie called Scavenger Hunt from 1979, and it's a late 70s kind of I'm not gonna say it's low budget, but it isn't exactly a Spielberg movie, you know what I mean? But it's the same kind of principle, same kind of concept about these people trying to go on the scavenger hunt to win like this big amount of money. They're all kind of trying to beat each other, and sometimes they're even sort of trying to underhandedly, undercut each other, do things to make people get out of the race. But it's got this huge cast. It's even got cameos by people in it, like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And this is like 79.
Wow.
You'd have to do a little more. I don't remember the whole cast now. I haven't seen it in quite a while, which is one of the reasons why I was like, well, I'll make it an honorable mention, because I really need to rewatch it. What about you?
Mine was Galaxy Quest.
Just Galaxy Quest?
Yeah, it was. Galaxy Quest was up there. And again, to me, that was... Alan Rickman was in it. And again, I was, because of Die Hard, anything Alan Rickman is in or was in, I would, watch in a heartbeat. Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver, who, quintessential alien kind of woman.
Yeah.
Who else? Tony Shalhoub was in it. The guy that played Guy, what was his name?
I forget. I haven't seen Galaxy Quest in like 25
he was
years.
in Iron Man 2. He played. He was against Tony Stark. Justin Hammer.
Yeah. That's
Yeah. So anyway, he played the extra named Guy.
Right.
He's like, I can't go on any missions. I'm the extra named Guy. I'm gonna be the first one that goes out. And it was such a great send up to Star Trek and that entire world. It was. I just loved the humor of it. It talked to the sci-fi conventions, which I loved going to, and the world that was, and how fanboy some of those people can be. And it was a really nice homage to all of that entire world. But the cast that they picked for it, I just thoroughly enjoyed. So that was my
that makes sense.
My honorable mention.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That kind of would be like up there for me, sort of like Ghostbusters is, where it's kind of a.
No, and I agree with you. I think that it is a Tim Allen vehicle with other people surrounding it, which is why it made my honorable mention rather than that full list of things. But when you've got that supporting cast of characters like Sigourney Weaver and Alan Rickman and those things, it's hard to discount that as just a Tim Allen vehicle, because they are so well known in addition to that.
And important.
Yeah,
they're not just sort of like throwaway or kind of like, well, it's cool they were there, but we didn't need. Fair enough. I agree. Do you remember? You still don't remember what yours was, huh?
The only one that popped in my head right now is like Love Actually.
Ooh.
Okay. Yeah.
That's my wife's favorite Christmas movie. We watch it once a year. It's one of those cusp movies. It's not quite comedy. It's a little bit more romantic. But yeah, cast of characters in that, as far as an ensemble goes, that's a true ensemble movie, because there really is not one.
And you're right. And and I wouldn't have thought of that.
That's I like that movie quite a bit, and I would not have thought of that, but that is very much ensemble.
It
Yeah,
falls all
and I
of
love
them
how it
are
kind of
thrilled.
ties, and in ways, a lot of it ties together at the end and everything. And yeah, no, that's a good movie.
Yeah, you got Hugh Grant in that again. Alan Rickman.
Yeah.
You know, what's his name? The guy that played Rick from
Yeah,
Walking
Rick
Dead.
Grimes. Yeah,
You know,
that's Andrew Lincoln.
Andrew Lincoln, and it's so funny to me when Walking Dead first came out. I was so interested. It was like seeing Michael Keaton as Batman because
Right.
you knew him as Mr. Mom, and you're like, how is he going to play this
Right.
badass as Batman? And that's how Andrew Lincoln was because I knew him as this softie from Love Actually who's going to play Rick Grimes.
Right.
I'm like, how is this going to work? And it did, but still, it's one of those. This guy's got
Yeah.
range. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a really good movie.
Yeah.
I
No,
don't-
that's a good pick though. I like that one.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
just kind of borders, like you said, is it comedy or more romantic?
I think it's a rom-com.
Yeah, totally.
It's
Yeah.
a rom-com, so it's kind of like Ghostbusters is like
Yeah.
it's a comedy thriller. And,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, there's boobs in it, which make me happy. I mean, there's some really good quotable lines in there. So,
It's all it needs is boobs. From Airplane to Love Actually. As long as it's got boobs,
We're good.
we are
It's
good. But yeah, this was fun. This was cool. I was glad we got to
topic.
do something. I know this is long. I know people at home, that's what you got the pause button for, You listen to it tomorrow.
thank
Finish
you
it.
guys so much for having me. This was an
No.
absolute blast,
And
and I
we'll-
hope I get to come back sometime.
You will, yeah. We're already, as letting people know. Yeah, we're already talking about. We got a lot of ideas. This is gonna be one of the last things that's gonna come out for 2021. We've got a lot of plans, a lot of potential plans. There's a lot of stuff that's gonna be coming. As I talked about when we did the live stream, for those that didn't see it or hear it, I'm going to be incorporating far more music content, like we've threatened to do for almost 4 years now. It's
gonna happen.
It's overdue. Matt obviously could inject a lot of music content stuff. We know plenty of other people that could be awesome guests to talk about music stuff. So that's going to come into it. We're going to branch off and do different topics. More, we have a tendency to sometimes get real stuck on like Stephen King and Harrison Ford and Star Trek, and and it's like, so we're
Fresh blood gives us fresh topics.
yeah, and it's a time, yeah. So we're gonna be incorporating a lot of stuff. So if any of you have suggestions, things you'd like to see and hear from us, let us know. And with that, yeah, that's about it.
That's about that.
So,
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, happy
Happy
holidays.
Happy New Year.
Merry New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. All right, we'll see y'all soon.
Bye.
Bye.